Welcome to Bible Quizzes. There are 80 questions in this quiz. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. What did Jacob do when he first saw Rachel at the well? He ignored her. He spoke calmly. He kissed her and wept. He did not recognize her. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is he kissed her and wept. Genesis 29:11. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. 2. What was the former name of Bethel, the place Jacob had the dream of the ladder? Nod, Luz, Haran. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Luz, Genesis 28:19, and he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city had been Luz previously. 3. What did Jacob see on the ladder from heaven to earth? Cherubim with flaming swords, stars and heavenly lights, angels ascending and descending, God sitting on his throne. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is angels ascending and descending, Genesis 28:12. Then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth, and its top reached to heaven, and there the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. 4. Why was Rachel envious of Leah? Leah had more children. Leah was more beautiful. Leah had more wealth. Leah was more loved. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Leah had more children, Genesis 30:1. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children or else I die." 5. Who was Jacob's first wife? Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, Zilpah. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Leah, Genesis 29:25. So it came to pass in the morning that behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me?" 6. Where did Cain lure Abel to before he murdered him? The city, the mountains, the river, the field. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is the field, Genesis 4:8. Now Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. 7. What did the angel of God tell Abraham when he saw his willingness to sacrifice Isaac? Do not lay a hand on the boy. You have not withheld your son. I know you fear God. All of the above. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is all of the above, Genesis 22:11-12. But the angel said, "Abraham, Abraham." So he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not lay your hand on the lad or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." 8. How was Isaac comforted for the loss of his mother Sarah? Abraham comforted him. He married Rebekah. He focused on his work. He prayed for peace. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is he married Rebekah, Genesis 24:67. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. 9. Who did Adam blame for influence to eat the forbidden fruit? Himself, the serpent, his wife Eve, God. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is his wife, Eve, Genesis 3:12. Then the man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate." 10. What punishment was Adam given for eating the forbidden fruit? He would toil to eat. He would be restless. He would be sick. He would be ashamed. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he would toil to eat. Genesis 3:17. Then to Adam he said, "Because you have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life." 11. What did Jacob expect God to give him so that he could give tithe as he vowed at Bethel? Provision, peace, protection, all of the above. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is all of the above. Genesis 28:21-22. If God will keep me in this way that I am going and give me bread and clothing so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and of all that you give me I will surely give a tenth to you. 12. What was Jacob's reaction when he learned that his sons had killed an entire village? He was happy. He was silent. He was angry. He punished them. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he was angry. Genesis 34:30. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, and since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me." 13. Who was Bilhah? Rachel's maidservant, Jacob's second wife, Leah's maidservant, Dinah's mother. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Rachel's maidservant, Genesis 33:4. Then Rachel said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees, that I also may have children by her." So she gave him Bilhah her maid as wife, and Jacob went in to her. 14. Who accompanied Joseph to visit his sick father, his wife, his brothers, Pharaoh, his sons? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is his sons. Genesis 48:1. Now it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told, "Indeed, your father is sick," and he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. 15. Why did Jacob's 10 sons go to Egypt? To buy grain, to look for Joseph, to trade goods, to escape persecution. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is to buy grain. Genesis 42:1-2. And Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, and Jacob said to his sons, and he said, "Indeed, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us there, that we may live and not die." 16. How many years of famine were remaining according to what Joseph told his brothers? 7, 5, 3, 2. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 5. Genesis 45:6. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. 17. How many angels met Lot in Sodom? 4, 2, 7, 3. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 2. Genesis 19:1. Now the angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. 18. What was the fate of Ferris Butler according to the interpretation of the dream? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he was restored to his position. Genesis 40:13. Now within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your place, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former manner when you were his butler. 19. For how many years did Pharaoh's butler forget Joseph after he left the prison? 2, 4, 1, 3. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 2, Genesis 40:23 to 41:1. Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph but forgot him. Then it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh had a dream, and behold, he stood by the river. 20. Besides giving Abraham bread and wine, what else did Melchizedek offer Abraham? Gold, land, advice, blessings. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is blessings. Genesis 14:18 to 19. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. 21. True or false? Joseph imprisoned his brothers. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is true. Genesis 42:17. So he put them all together in prison 3 days. Then Joseph said to them the third day, Do this and live, for I fear God. 22. Why did God confuse the languages of men during the building of the Tower of Babel? To stop them from building, to punish them, to test their faith, to cause war. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is to stop them from building. Genesis 11:7 to 8. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there, over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. 23. How many camels did Rebekah give water at the well? 2, 10, 8, 7. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 10. Genesis 24:10 and 20. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed. She said, I will draw water for her camels also, until they have finished drinking. Then she quickly drew for all his camels. 24. Whoman Abraham appointed heir of his wealth before he had Isaac? Ishmael, Lot, Eliezer of Damascus, Nahor. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Eliezer of Damascus, Genesis 15:2. But Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? 25. Into how many pieces did Abraham cut the covenant sacrifice of animals? 4, 1, 3, 2. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 2, Genesis 15:10. Then they brought all this to him and cut them in two, down the middle, and placed each piece opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds in two. 26. Whom did God tell that Abraham was a prophet? Abimelech, Pharaoh, Lot, Isaac. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Abimelech, Genesis 27. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning. 27. What did the angel instruct Hagar to do after she fled from Sarah? Continue on her journey. Return to Sarah and submit to her. Seek refuge elsewhere. Cry out to God. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, return to Sarah and submit to her. Genesis 16:9. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. 28. Where did Ishmael settle after he left Abraham's home? Egypt, Ur of the Chaldees, Canaan, wilderness of Para. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is wilderness of Paran, Genesis 21:20-21. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. 29. Who among Abraham's sons was circumcised the same day with him? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Ishmael, Genesis 17:25. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very same day, Abraham was circumcised and his son Ishmael. 30. What did Ishmael do that upset Sarah, prompting her to send him away? Worship idols, stole from the family, mocked Isaac, disobeyed Abraham. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is mocked Isaac, Genesis 21:9. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, scoffing. 31. What was Hagar's attitude after she conceived? She remained humble. She rejoiced in the Lord. She despised Sarah. She feared God. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, she despised Sarah, Genesis 16:4. So he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. 32. Why was Esau called Edom? He traded his birthright for red stew. Because he had red hair. He was a mighty hunter. He lived in the land of Edom. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he traded his birthright for red stew, Genesis 25:30. And Esau said to Jacob, please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. Therefore his name was called Edom. 33. Why did God restrain man from eating from the tree of life after the fall? So he would not live forever in sin, to show his power, so he would be humbled, so he would not die. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, so he would not live forever in sin, Genesis 3:22-23. Then the Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. And now lest he put out his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat, and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him out of the garden. 34. How many years did Adam live? 800 years, 930 years, 700 years, 500 years. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 930 years, Genesis 5:5. So all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. 35. What did God use to destroy Sodom? A great flood, plagues, fire and brimstone, an earthquake. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is fire and brimstone, Matthew 8:19-20. And a certain scribe came and said to him, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said to him, Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. 36. What did God promise Abraham regarding the number of his descendants? They would be many like stars. They would be many like birds. They would be many like trees. They would be many like fish in the sea. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, they would be many like stars. Genesis 15:5. Then he brought him outside and said, Look now toward heaven and count the stars if you are able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your descendants be. 37. Besides creating man, what else did God create on the sixth day? Land animals, birds and fish, the sun and moon. All of the above. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is land animals, Genesis 1:24. Then God said, Let the earth bring forth a living creature according to its kind, cattle and creeping thing and beasts of the earth, each according to its kind, and it was so. 38. What did God instruct man to eat after he created him? Fish, animals and plants, everything, herbs and fruits. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is herbs and fruit, Genesis 1:29. And God said, See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. 39. What did God do to man before he took his rib to make the woman? He put man in a trance. He put him to sleep. He gave him a vision. He put him in a heavenly dimension. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he put him to sleep, Genesis 2:21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. 40. What does the name Eve mean? Helper, living soul, mother of all living, first woman. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is mother of all living, Genesis 3:20, and Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. 41. True or false? Esau deceived his father by pretending to be Jacob. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is false, Genesis 27:22. So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. 42. What happened to man after God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life? He became a life-giving spirit. He became a living soul. He became celestial. He became eternal. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he became a living soul, Genesis 2:7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. 43. What happened to man immediately after he ate the fruit? He fell asleep. He became blind. His eyes were opened. He felt ashamed. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, his eyes were opened, Genesis 3:7. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. 44. What did the cherubim that were guarding the way to the tree of life have? Flaming swords, double-edged swords, shields, wings of fire. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is flaming swords, Genesis 3:24. So he drove out the men, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. 45. Who is the second son of Adam and Eve? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Abel, Genesis 4:2. Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. 46. What did Abraham use the field he purchased from the Hittites with 400 shekels of silver? As a place for his livestock, as a burial place for Sarah, to plant a vineyard, to build an altar. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is as a burial place for Sarah, Genesis 23:17-19. So the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, was ceded to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the sons of Heth. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah. 47. Who among his sons did Jacob give a double portion of inheritance? Joseph, Reuben, Judah, Issachar. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Joseph, Genesis 48:21. Then Israel said to Joseph, Behold, I am dying, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the land of the Amorite. 48. What job did Potiphar give Joseph in his house? Butler, personal assistant, overseer of his house, gardener. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is overseer of his house, Genesis 39:4. So Joseph found favor in his sight and served him. Then he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put under his authority. 49. What rank did Pharaoh give Joseph after interpreting his dreams? Chief of Staff, General of the Army, Second in Command, Royal Guard. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is second in command, Genesis 41:41-43. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and he had him ride in the second chariot which he had. 50. True or false? Genesis 1:1 says, In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is false. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. 51. Who among Joseph's brothers did he imprison and remain with in Egypt? Judah, Reuben, Dan, Simeon. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Simeon, Genesis 42:24. And he turned himself away from them and wept. Then he returned to them again and talked with them. And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. 52. How old was Noah when the floods began? 500 years, 200 years, 300 years, 600 years. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 600 years, Genesis 7:6, and Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. 53. What covenant between God and Noah was marked with the rainbow? Covenant of protection, covenant never to flood the earth again, covenant of peace, covenant of love. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is covenant never to flood the earth again, Genesis 9:13-15. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the earth, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. 54. Who was Abraham's grandfather? You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Nahor, Genesis 11:25 to 27. Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. After he begot Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. Now Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. 55. What name did Rachel give her last son? Benjamin, Ben-Oni, Joseph, Gad. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Ben-Oni, Genesis 35:18. And so it was, as her soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. 56. Who was the second longest-lived person after Methuselah? Jared, Adam, Noah, Lamech. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Jared, Genesis 5:2. So all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. 57. What was the name of Tamar's firstborn whom she had with Judah? Shelah, Perez, Zerah, You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Perez, Genesis 38:27 to 29. Then it happened, as he drew back his hand, that his brother came out unexpectedly. And she said, How did you break through? This breach be upon you. Therefore his name was called Perez. 58. How many stories did the ark have? 3, 4, 2, 1. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 3. Genesis 6:16. You shall make a window for the ark, and you shall finish it to a cubit from above, and set the door of the ark in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third decks. 59. What attributes did Eve see the forbidden tree had? It was desirable to make one wise. It was pleasant to the eyes. It was good for food. All of the above. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is all of the above. Genesis 3:6. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. 60. What was the direction of Nod where Cain lived after killing Abel? East, north, south, west. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is east, Genesis 4:16. Then Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. 61. To how many years did God reduce the lifespan of men during Noah's time? 100 years, 110 years, 120 years, 150 years. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 120 years, Genesis 6:3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. 62. Why was Noah spared from God's judgment during the floods? He was a skilled builder. He repented. He was humble. He was a just man. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, he was a just man, Genesis 6:8. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. 63. What did a dove bring back to Noah to mark the drying of the earth? An olive leaf, a palm leaf, an almond leaf, a fig leaf. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is an olive leaf. Genesis 8:11. Then a dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth, and no one knew that the waters had receded from the earth. 64. Besides hunting, what else did Nimrod do? Became a mighty warrior, built cities, led a great army, became a great farmer. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is built cities. Genesis 10:10. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. 65. What alternative did Lot offer the men of Sodom instead of the angels? His wife, his livestock, his daughters, himself. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is his daughters. Genesis 19:8. See now, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under my roof. 66. How long did the Egyptians mourn for Jacob? 70 days, 30 days, 50 days, 40 days. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 70 days. Genesis 50:2-3. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed, and the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. 67. Who among his brothers did Joseph give a bad report to Jacob? The sons of Leia, the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, the sons of Rachel, all his brothers. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. Genesis 37:2. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. 68. Who among Joseph's brothers was not present when they were selling him? Reuben, Levi, Simeon, Judah. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Reuben. Genesis 37:28-29. Then Midianite traders passed by, so the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him. Then Reuben returned to the pit, and indeed Joseph was not in the pit, and he tore his clothes. 69. Who in Judah's family did not marry or sleep with Tamar? Onan, Judah, Shelah, You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Shelah. Genesis 38:11. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow in your father's house till my son Shelah is grown. For he said, Lest he also die like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. 70. Why did Judah mistake his daughter-in-law for a prostitute? She told Judah she was a prostitute. She was wearing a veil in an open place. Judah's friends said she was a prostitute. Tamar seduced Judah. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is she was wearing a veil in an open place. Genesis 38:15 shows she took off her widow garments, covered herself with a veil, and sat in an open place which was on the way to Timnah. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a harlot because she had covered her face. 71. What was Judah's reaction when he heard Tamar was pregnant? He planned to confront her. He wanted her to be burned. He rejoiced. He wanted her to be exiled. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is he wanted her to be burned. Genesis 38:24. And it came to pass about 3 months after that Judah was told, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot. Furthermore, she is with child by harlotry. So Judah said, Bring her out and let her be burned. 72. What did Sarah say when she heard she would have a child in her old age? Shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old? The Lord has blessed me. I do not believe it. Let it be according to your will. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old? Genesis 18:12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? 73. What did Rebekah do when she saw Isaac for the first time? Covered her face with a veil, bowed before him, ran towards him, embraced him. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, covered her face with a veil. Genesis 24:64. Then Rebekah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel, for she had said to the servant, Who is this man? The servant said, It is my master. So she took a veil and covered herself. 74. What was the name of the well where the servants of Isaac and Abimelech quarreled? Rehoboth, Esek, Bir Lahairoi, Beersheba. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Esek, Genesis 26:20. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, The water is ours. So he called the name of the well Esek because they quarreled with him. 75. How old was Isaac when he married Rebekah? 30 years, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is 40 years, Genesis 25:20. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. 76. What animal did God provide as a substitute for Isaac? Ram, lamb, bull, cow. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is ram, Genesis 22:13. Then Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son. 77. What did Abraham name the place where he was about to sacrifice Isaac? The Lord is peace. The Lord is God. The Lord will help. The Lord will provide. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, the Lord will provide, Genesis 22:14. And Abraham called the name of the place, the Lord will provide, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. 78. Who was the firstborn son of Noah? Japheth, Shem, Canaan, Ham. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is Shem, Genesis 5:32. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth. 79. How did Enoch escape death? He went to heaven with a chariot of fire. Angels of fire took him away. God translated and took him. He went into a trance and left the earth. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, God translated and took him, Genesis 5:24. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. 80. At what point was the creation of heaven done? Before the beginning of creation, during the creation in the beginning, after the beginning of creation. It is not mentioned. You have 10 seconds to answer. The answer is, during the creation in the beginning, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And that's all the questions we have for you today. How well did you do? Tally your score and post in the comments. Don't forget to share this quiz with your family and friends. See you in the next one. God bless.